On Wednesday, a massive explosion rocked a major petrochemical facility of Mexican National Oil Company, Pemex, in the Gulf state of Veracruz, killing at least 3 people, injured dozens more, and pumps a cloud of noxious chemicals into the skies. Luis Felipe Perunte, head of Federal Emergency Services, said that 3 people had died in the blast. The governor of Veracruz State, Javier Duarte, later said 105 people were hospitalized, including 58 petrochemical workers. Pemex said the explosion, which sent a huge dark plume of smoke billowing upwards, occurred just after 3 p.m. at the facility's Chlorinate 3 plant near the port of Carlos, one of the company's top oil export locations. Here in Nigeria, integrated energy trader listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, Forte Oil has reported 7.7% growth in gross revenue to 35.6 billion naira. That's in the first quarter of the current year. Despite an increase in tax payments and other economic headwinds locally, Forte Oil's profit after tax rose 21.8% with 497 kobo as earnings per share. Forte Oil also saw a flat operating expense by 0.4% in the period under review. The bellwether plans to expand operations through a capital raising exercise of about $503 million at its annual shareholders meeting next week Tuesday here in Lagos. Let's stick with Nigeria. The nationwide petrol queues have continued as scarcity lingers. The price of diesel is up by 18.4% from 109 per litre to 129 naira per litre. So what's been the state of Nigeria's downstream oil sector, as the head of the NNPC says the current scarcity is caused by saboteurs, but will be resolved by next week. Head of research at Financial Derivatives here in Lagos, Damilola Akimbami, via Skype. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, Bose.
Now, I'm sure you've heard the statement from the head of the NNPC, Dr. Pt.2, about the fact that this petrol scarcity lingering will end next week. How is the market taking those statements from Kachiko?
Oh, well, not as optimistic as Mr. Kachiko is. I'll recall earlier this month, it was said that fuel scarcity will end by April 7th. On that day, some fuel were actually released, and there was like a respite, but then the queues are back now. So if fuel scarcity is supposedly expected to end by, it will be interesting to see how that happens. So unless it's something fundamental is being implemented, which what we're currently not seeing. So we're not as optimistic, or the market is not as optimistic as the NNPC GMD is. And we expect this should actually continue if, like I mentioned, the fundamentals are not resolved.
What are the key issues on the minds of 160 million Nigerians? Is it the availability, the pricing, or the subsidy on petrol products?
Yes, what is actually making this product, what we call the black gold right now, what is actually really scarce is actually forex scarcity. You can actually still link it to forex shortages, because importers are finding it difficult to bring in these products because they don't have the required resources. They don't have available forex to bring in the petrol. So that's why you're seeing queues everywhere. And also pricing is not properly regulated. If NNPC is supposed to be the main supplier that brings in petrol into the country, what about all the other independent importers? So pricing is one thing, but more importantly is forex. So because forex is not available, that is why we're actually seeing these queues still lingering. That's why I said that if the fundamentals remain unchanged, I don't think we're going to see a spike. So even if all queues reduce next week, I want to believe that we're going to see a reoccurrence down.
Crude oil is heading towards $45 a barrel. What's your thought about this, and will there be any correlation about, well, down here at home in Nigeria, in terms of retail price?
Well, at $45 per barrel, it's good news, but we also have to look at the production aspect, because it's both price and production that affect government revenue here and external reserves and even everywhere. Remember, there was a force majeure at Focado's pipeline, which affected productions in March. So fine, even if all prices are increasing, you also have to look at the production aspects. And I know that the government is to enforce security in the Niger Delta to at least stop the vandalism that is occurring in that area. So you have to put both of them in context. And if oil prices are increasing, we should see in the next 2 months the FAC allocation, that's the monthly statutory allocation for the month of May and June, we should see an improvement. Hopefully, if production too remains relatively flat or we see an increase. So if government revenue increases, more funds will be shared amongst the states. Also, in terms of our external reserves, we should see a slowdown in the depletion rate. But we also have to bear in mind that towards May, or even hopefully before the month of April ends, we expect the budget to be signed. And once the budget is signed, you know that obviously disbursement is going to occur. We're going to start seeing spending occur. And what this does is that it increases liquidity in the markets. So money market, there's a lot of funds around, interest rates will go down. There's going to be increased pressure on the currency because now marketers, so they have excess naira, they will need to bring in their products in and they would require dollars. So we're going to see increased demand for dollars. So by and large, it's like running around in circles, basically.
Running around in circles, that doesn't look like a nice way to end the conversation, but that's the reality, running around in circles. Thank you very much for being part of the cycle of 30 minutes for the program. Damilola Kimami, Head of Research at Lagos-based financial derivatives company. Let's move on. Sticking with West Africa, Ivory Coast will seek to raise about 4.43 trillion CFA francs, that's about $7.65 billion, during a meeting with donor partners next month to help fund an ambitious 5-year development program. The West African country is aiming to invest a total of about 30 trillion CFA francs from this year to 2020 as part of its efforts to both foster economic development and reduce poverty. About 18 trillion CFA francs is expected to come from private sector investment, with the governments in Abidjan contributing the remaining 11 trillion CFA francs. The government spokesperson, Bruno Kone, said that an advisory group headed by President Alassane Ouattara will meet in Paris on May the 17th and 18th. South Africa's headline consumer inflation slowed to 6.3% year-on-year last month. That's in line with some forecasts from 7% in February. That's the data from Statistics Office on Wednesday. On a month-on-month basis, prices were up 0.8% after an increase of 1.4% in the previous month. Core inflation, which excludes the prices of food, non-alcoholic beverages, petrol and energy, was at 5.4% year-on-year last month from 5.7% in the previous month, and that's about 0.9% month-on-month from 1.4%. Let's step to East Africa, where a women's group in Kenya is promoting use of cultural Maasai blanket, a hand-woven fabric done in bright colors that's associated with the pastoralist Maasai community. And I got one from there last year. The Maasai blanket has gained popularity across the country and inspired fashion products on international runways in recent years. And they come in very nice colors. Take a look at this. You may be getting one.
Weavers make traditional Maasai fabric at a small workshop in Kitale, Western Kenya. They are producing Maasai blankets, a cultural checked fabric done in bright colors. The blanket was originally worn by the Maasai pastoralist community, who continue to stick to their traditional way of life. Different colors are worn at specific occasions by the community, and over time, many people across the country have adopted the use of the blanket, which has become a cultural symbol in Kenya. The Ujirani Mwema community, which makes the blankets and other shawls for sale, was started in 2009 by Gertrude Naliania, a trained tailor, to help members supplement their income. The group is made up of 20 women, many of whom are single mothers or widows. The group wants to counter lighter and cheaper versions of the Maasai blankets that are being imported from China and have found their way into the local markets.
We have decided to discourage people from importing textiles. We have discovered that we are capable of producing the blankets ourselves so that we can sell them locally and internationally because we have a permit from the national and county government.
Today, the workshop produces 40 blankets a day and has 10 employees. The Maasai blanket has also inspired fashion products seen on international runways in recent years, including collections by French fashion house Louis Vuitton. The group sells their products in supermarkets around the country and are also working to market their work outside the country. They are currently working on an order for a business client in Italy. In a good month, they make about $1,000.
I can pay rent for the premises, I can pay the rent for my house, I can also pay I can also pay school fees, and I also do help the less privileged women to support them, and also the orphan children who are home-based.
Apart from targeting major clients, Gertrude also goes out to sell the blankets on the streets.
When I compare the material, what she's selling with the Chinese, is really a big difference, and I'm happy to buy it.
The women's group eventually plans to purchase land and allocate members plots that they can settle. In the meantime, they continue to preserve an important part of the Kenyan culture that continues to provide them with a source of livelihood.
Let's come back after the break and track the FMD.